is up, YouTube? That's here, and today I want to talk to you guys about the brand new Intimidate Incineroar that just got released this morning. I just woke up and I saw on my Twitter feed that they released the Hidden Ability starters Incineroar, Decidueye, and Primarina. I think Decidueye gets a long reach, Primarina gets like Liquid Voice, which pretty much makes it kind of like a Sylveon. But today, we're going to be talking about the Incineroar line getting access to Intimidate, and why I think it's actually a bad thing for VGC, and hopefully some of you guys agree with me. Hopefully none of this happens, right? Hopefully none of this happens, and Incineroar just sees, you know, a decent spike in usage, and there's no problem with it. But this is some of the things that I have a problem with. So Incineroar is already a Pokemon that's really good. You see it in a lot of teams. You see it in the Thundercat team with Gardevoir, and a lot of teams have pretty much started to use Incineroar as their main fire type over things like Heatran and over things like Arcanine. And that's not really a bad thing. Incineroar is a really good Pokemon. It gets Fake Out. It has an above average speed period compared to most Fake Out users. I think it's a little bit faster than like Scrafty and Hitmontop, but it's still slower than things like Kang, Salazzle, Weavile, Raichu, and stuff like that. So it has like a mid-tier Fake Out speed tiering. It has huge fire moves, and it also stabs dark moves. It stabs knockoff. It has its own exclusive Z move. You can see why this Pokemon could be one that is like potentially on the verge of being like a staple. And now that it gets Intimidate, well, what we're going to start seeing is, since this thing's already commonly used, we're going to start seeing it on almost every team, or roughly 70% of teams. Like, oh, you need a Fake Outer? This is the one you use. Oh, you need an Intimidate user? This is the one you use. I don't think Incineroar is really going to take the place of Landorus per se, because Landorus has a ton of useful moves that Incineroar doesn't have, and Landorus beats Incineroar, but I'm sure people are cutting their Landorus today and for this first week of testing because Incineroar is out. And if there's a ton of Incineroars going around there, you're not only going to find more Incineroar counters, but you're going to have more Incineroar mirror matches. That's the big thing. If both players have Incineroar in their team preview, let's do a hypothetical. We have an Incineroar Zapdos player versus an Incineroar Landorus player. Obviously, the Incineroar Zapdos player has the advantage because they got a double Intimidate, but all is not lost for the Incineroar Landorus player because they can win like a Incineroar speed tie. And what this is going to create is, right now, people are probably going to be using bulky Incineroars, right? So if you use a bulky Incineroar, you're going to be slower than an opposing Incineroar, which means they can fake you out to stop your fake out, which means their teammate can get up their Tailwind. So in certain scenarios, like the faster Incineroar gets up the move that the teammate wants to get up. If the faster Incineroar can get up a Trick Room, the faster Incineroar can get up a Tailwind, the faster Incineroar can help its teammate get up a Dragon Dance or a Swords Dance, or even just a big KO on any of your opponent's Pokemon. And so what we're going to see is we're going to start seeing a shift to more faster Incineroars, and it's going to start, you know, it's going to start like harmless. I think it's going to be like, oh, well, he just had more speed, and then like, oh, well, you know, he was full speed, and then it's like, oh, well, he was jolly full speed, how am I supposed to beat that? And those kind of problems, I think those type of speed tie mechanical problems are one of the few flaws in Pokemon. Like speed ties, no one likes speed ties. Like I remember some of you guys must have played 2014. That whole format was a speed tie. You got your Talonflame speed tying, you got your Kang speed tying, you got your Scarf Salamances, Timid Scarf Salamans speed tying each other, you got your Garchomp speed tying, Rotoms speed tying even sometimes. So that whole format was almost, the reason people don't like that format, when they think about bad formats, they think, oh, 2014. It's because of the speed ties. It took a lot of the skill out of the game, and eventually I think people are just going to be starting, they're going to be forced to run this jolly Incineroar because they need to get the Fake Out. They need the support the Incineroar provides with the Intimidate, and you can already see that in Landorus. Like, remember in 2015 and 2013 to an extent, everyone ran like jolly Landorus. Like people did that this format because you want to go first in the mirror match. It's very important that you go first, that you can use your moves before your opponent uses their moves. So Incineroars versus Incineroars, this has been the reason why I've said this Pokemon is never going to come out. And now that it is out, I'm not going to run it. I'm not going to play that game. I don't think this Pokemon is worth all of the potential speed ties I'm going to have to risk using it. Because even if you're not speed tying, you don't know that in the team preview. Like Battle Spot Showdown, even some mid-season NPCs, those are best of one. Is it really worth going to a tournament? Like all the way across the state or the country or how far ever you travel, just to lose to a speed tie on a Pokemon that you use? Like, it's different if it's like a speed tie on a base 100 mon, because there's a lot of mons that have base 100 speed, but you're literally losing to the same exact thing your opponent's doing. Like, Incineroar is supposed to be like your thing, and you're losing to another one. And that's another thing, like, everyone always talked about Incineroar, like, oh, my team would be so good if it had an Intimidate Incineroar. I've heard that excuse. If I had a dime for every time I heard that excuse, I wouldn't need to play VGC anymore. But, like, everyone thinks that they would be the only one using this Pokemon. Literally, go on Battle Spot, go on Showdown today. You will fight one of these in almost every single game for the next 2 weeks, and probably moving forward, I wouldn't expect this Pokemon to have any less than a 70% usage on those sites. So, Incineroar is here, unfortunately in my opinion, but everyone's gonna be using it. Like, and this thing is, the reason why this Mon sucks in mirror matches is because you could technically put low kick on it. Sure, it probably doesn't one-shot, but it deals enough damage to where you could lead Incineroar Salamence and go Hyper Voice Salamence low kick the opposing Incineroar with your Incineroar. If you're faster, you're gonna pick up a KO on them, and then they're down a Pokemon, and they got like double intimidated. That is gross. Incineroar Salamence sounds busted. But anyways, you see what I'm saying? Like, it creates too much polarization of like one Mon, that you gotta spread the Intimidate users out. Like, I like seeing Scrafty, I like seeing Hitmontop, I like seeing Landers, but when everyone runs the same one or two, that's where you start to get problems. And that's just one of the things that I really just don't like about the Intimidate Incineroar. Another problem that we're gonna have is the increase, or the people thinking there's gonna be an increase of Melodics, Bisharps, Braviaries, stuff like that. I don't know if you guys have seen my video today. I already started using Bisharp, and that was like before. Like, I recorded that stuff last night before they even announced this stuff. So like, Bisharp is going to be huge. You can say, oh, Incineroar just hits it. Like, Bisharp can't really fight Incineroar. Bisharp fights everything else. Bisharp's already been coming up now. So I'm thinking this is going to give a boost to Bisharp, a boost to Melodic. We're going to start seeing more teams like Incineroar Zapdos, Incineroar Thundurus, Incineroar Bulu. Like, Incineroar Bulu is already a good team, and it's just going to get even better. So, if we see more people starting to tech Melodics to beat the Incineroars, then we're going to start seeing more things that beat the Melodic. And then we're going to have Incineroar.team that, you know, the big six of this gen, all based around one Pokemon. A Pokemon that can potentially lose you the game thanks to a speed tie, and especially if everyone's running the same team. Because this Incineroar is going to create a situation where both players aren't just running Incineroar. If both players are running Incineroar Bulu, Zapdos, because that's the team that makes it so your Incineroar works the best because everyone's running it and that's what they're building around, we're going to start to get like a big six mentality going on. And then it's not just going to be your Incineroar speed guys, your Zapdos, your Bulu, all your other Pokemon, your Kangaskhan. Those are all going to start speed tying each other. And then it's just going to create a game that was just like 2014 again. And personally, I don't want to play that. Like, I don't want to play speed tie game. I'll use other Mons and other unique ways of doing it. I'm sure other people will too. But what this Mon tells me is that for the next 2 or 3 months, the meta is going to be extremely stale. And I know VGC is at a really vulnerable point right now with attendance numbers in regionals. And I just hope that people don't see, like, Charlotte's coming up this weekend. And is it this weekend? It's one of these weekends. But there's a regional coming up like this weekend. And then there's like Portland coming up at the end of the month. And if like there's just a bunch of the same teams in top 8, there's a lot of people that are going to be turned off from that. And you can just say like, oh, that's consistency, that's good. And I kind of agree, like, you know, consistency is good, you know. When cool teams, you know, make it 2 or 3, 4, 5 of them in the same top 8, I think that's all right. I think it says that our game is going in a more competitive direction. But as a casual viewer, they're going to be like, oh, well, they only won because they had X team, or they just hacked that team, or that team had won because they had legendaries. And it's a lot of negative press for the scene as a whole when that type of stuff happens. I'm sure you guys can think of, I'm sure you guys know players that are like, oh, I quit playing in 2015 because of chalk, or I quit playing in 2016 because of big sticks. I know there are people like that. Like, I actually know people like that. So these are all problems that I can see stemming from Intimidate Incineroar. I really wish that they would have released this Pokemon in a later year. I think this year, Incineroar is already so good that this is just a little bit of a problem, and I would have loved to see it in a later year where it wouldn't have had such an impact. Because right now, I think it's probably the best fake out user in the format. It might even be like a candidate for top 3 before this Intimidate. Like, think about it. If you want to use a fast fake out user like Raichu or Weavile, you're a glass cannon. This Assault Vest Incineroar is thick, and it gets access to U-turn, which like Scrafty and Hitmontop don't get. So you can U-turn. It's like a Lando with Fake Out. That's pretty much it. It's a Lando with Fake Out, stabs its knockoff, and has a 120 single target base move Square Blitz. Like, this Pokemon is absolutely ridiculous. And I just hope that the scene can somehow build around it without collapsing in on itself, because this could either be the thing that we need to make VGC great again, or it could be the nail in the coffin. So let me know what you guys think about Intimidate Incineroar, the hidden ability being released today. Last little thing I want to talk about is its unevolved form Torcat. I saw a couple people building with that already. I think that Pokemon actually has potential. I saw T-Man using a Sash, but I think it has a lot of potential as an Evilite user. So there's a ton of options this Pokemon has. Like, it was using like Snarl, Will-O-Wisp, like Taunt, stuff like that, and Overheat. But let me know what you guys think about Intimidate Incineroar and the whole Incineroar line getting Intimidate in the comments below. I'm really generally interested in seeing what you guys have to say, and I hope that this doesn't all happen, but this is just something that I've been thinking about for a while, and yeah, let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.